The night sky over Earth was filled with stars, but something strange was happening. A signal, unlike anything Earth had ever received, was reaching out from the farthest corners of space. It wasn't a message from a human satellite or a communication from a spacecraft. It was something different, something older, something alien. The signal arrived at the main research facility in the middle of the desert, where some of the brightest minds on the planet worked together. They had been studying space for years, trying to understand the mysteries of the universe, but nothing had prepared them for this. Dr. Samuel Harris was the lead scientist at the facility. He had dedicated his entire life to finding signs of intelligent life beyond Earth. He was always hopeful, but he never truly expected to find anything. Yet there it was, right in front of him, a signal, clear and unbroken. He sat up in his chair, his heart racing as he stared at the glowing screen. The team of scientists around him were just as shocked. They had been watching the data for hours, trying to understand what was happening, but no one could make sense of it. "We need to decrypt this," Dr. Harris said, his voice trembling. "If this is what I think it is, then we're not alone." His assistant, Dr. Leah Mitchell, quickly began typing commands into the computer, trying to break down the alien code. As the numbers and symbols scrolled across the screen, she frowned. The message was unlike any language they had ever seen. It didn't even resemble anything human. It was a strange mixture of symbols, sounds, and light patterns. This is not possible," Dr. Mitchell muttered. "This could take weeks, maybe months to decode." But Dr. Harris wasn't willing to wait. He had seen enough. There was something urgent about the signal, something that made him feel uneasy. He wasn't sure why, but he knew they had to act fast. "Send the signal to the central government," he ordered. "Tell them we've received a message. This could be the most important discovery in human history." As the message was transmitted to global leaders, panic began to spread. News outlets around the world began reporting that a signal from deep space had been detected, and governments scrambled to form emergency response teams. Everyone was talking about the possibility of alien life. But in the middle of all the excitement, Dr. Harris couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He stared at the screen, trying to make sense of the patterns. There was something hidden beneath the surface. The symbols were complex, but there was an underlying structure to them. They weren't just random shapes. They were messages, encoded messages, each one telling a part of a bigger story. But what was the story? Suddenly, the computer screen flickered, and a new message appeared, one that wasn't part of the original signal. It was short and simple, but it sent a chill down Dr. Harris's spine. The message read, "Do not awaken what sleeps beneath the earth." Dr. Harris stared at the words in disbelief. His mind raced, trying to understand what it meant. What could be sleeping beneath the earth? He wondered aloud. The team around him fell silent. The room was tense with uncertainty. Before anyone could respond, another message appeared, even more urgent this time. "The Vortak are coming. You have no time. Wake it before they do." The words flashed in bright red letters, like a warning. Dr. Harris's heart pounded in his chest. He had heard the name Vortak before, but only in old stories, myths about an ancient alien race that once tried to conquer the galaxy. The Vortak were said to be the oldest and most powerful species in the universe, feared by everyone. No one knew much about them, except that they had vanished long ago, leaving only rumors behind. But now, the Vortak were real, and they were coming to Earth. The room was filled with a mixture of fear and confusion. The scientists were no longer sure what to believe. Was this a hoax, a mistake, or was there truly something out there, something so dangerous that the Vortak feared it? Dr. Harris knew they had to act quickly. If the Vortak were coming, it meant Earth was in grave danger. But what were they afraid of? What was it that could make the most powerful species in the galaxy tremble? The team worked through the night, trying to decode more of the alien message. They managed to translate a few more words. "The Earth is the key. You must unlock it before the vortex. But even with these new clues, they still had no idea what it meant. As dawn broke, Dr. Harris knew they had to find answers. The message was too important to ignore. Whatever secret Earth held, whatever power was buried beneath the surface, it was something the vortex feared more than anything else. And if they were coming to Earth, it meant the vortex were determined to stop humanity from discovering it. "Get me everything we have on the ancient history of Earth," Dr. Harris ordered. "The vortex are old. They've been watching us for a long time. There has to be something we've missed. A clue. A sign." His team immediately set to work, diving into Earth's ancient past. They searched for evidence of lost civilizations, forgotten technologies, or anything that could explain why the vortex were so afraid. They studied old texts, myths, and legends, hoping to find something that connected the dots. As the day passed, they discovered a troubling pattern. There were ancient records from different parts of the world that spoke of a hidden power beneath the Earth. Some of these stories were as old as human civilization itself, passed down through generations as myth and folklore. But what if they were more than just stories? What if they were warnings? Dr. Harris couldn't help but feel that they were on the verge of uncovering something world-changing, something that could change the course of history. But at the same time, a deep fear grew in his chest. The message had been clear: do not awaken what sleeps beneath the Earth. What if opening this door was a mistake? What if the vortex knew something they didn't? As the hours passed and the pressure mounted, Dr. Harris knew that time was running out. The vortex were coming, and whatever secret Earth held, they had to find it first. The future of the planet rested on their shoulders. The team continued working into the night, each new discovery adding to the growing sense of urgency. Dr. Harris couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the message: "You have no time." But what did the vortex know that they didn't? What was hidden beneath the Earth that was so powerful? As the team scrambled to decode the final part of the message, Dr. Harris felt a growing unease. They were getting closer to the truth, but the deeper they dug, the more dangerous it became. And soon, they would discover that some secrets were never meant to be uncovered. This part introduces the mystery and sets up the urgency, creating suspense and curiosity about what is hidden beneath the Earth and why the vortex fear it. The reader is left eager to learn what happens next. Here is the second part of the story, The Hidden History, written in simple, basic English, in third-person style. Dr. Harris couldn't stop thinking about the message. "Do not awaken what sleeps beneath the Earth." Those words echoed in his mind every time he closed his eyes. What could be buried beneath the surface? And why were the vortex so afraid of it? He had spent his whole life studying space, but this was different. This wasn't just a discovery, it was a warning. The team worked tirelessly over the next few days, going through every piece of data they could find. Dr. Harris ordered them to look into Earth's ancient history, searching for any clues that might explain the cryptic message. The scientists looked through old books, ancient maps, and even myths that were passed down through generations. They dug deep into every culture, trying to find something that connected to the message. Dr. Leah Mitchell, who had been helping decode the signal, found something strange. "Samuel, you need to see this," she called out. Dr. Harris walked over to her desk and looked at the computer screen. She had uncovered an old map, one that had been thought to be a legend. The map showed an area in the heart of the Earth, deep beneath the ground, where an ancient city had once stood. The map looked old, much older than anything humanity had ever discovered. It didn't just show the city, though. It showed something else, something hidden below the city. "That's impossible," Dr. Harris muttered. "This map, it's over 10,000 years old. And yet, we've never found anything like this." Leah nodded. "It doesn't make sense. If this is real, then we've missed something huge. Something buried deep beneath the Earth that no one knew about." Dr. Harris looked at the map again. The city marked on it was in the same area where there had been ancient ruins discovered, but no one had ever known what the ruins were. They were simply written off as the remains of a long-forgotten civilization. But now, with this new map, it was clear that the city wasn't just any old ruins. It was something much more significant. It was connected to the Vortax warning. Could this be what the Vortax were talking about? Dr. Harris thought aloud. Could this city have something to do with the power beneath the earth? Something that even the Vortax are afraid of? Leah nodded. It's possible. But we don't know what's down there. We don't even know if this map is real. The team spent the next few days researching the ancient city. They found more clues hidden in the stories of past civilizations, but the pieces didn't quite fit together. There were stories of gods who had come from the sky, bringing with them strange technology and knowledge. Some cultures believed that these gods had left behind powerful artifacts, hidden deep underground. Other stories spoke of a great disaster that wiped out a powerful civilization, one that had been destroyed by the very power they had tried to control. Dr. Harris couldn't help but think of the cube, the object they had seen in the encrypted message. The cube seemed to hold some kind of strange energy. Could it be connected to the city? Was it possible that the city was the source of the power the Vortax feared? As the team worked, Dr. Harris began to grow more anxious. The Vortax weren't just any aliens. They were the oldest, most powerful species in the galaxy. If they were afraid of Earth, then there had to be something extraordinary hidden here, something that could change the balance of power in the universe. Dr. Leah Mitchell was the first to make a breakthrough. She found an old account of an ancient civilization that had come into contact with the Vortax long ago. According to the records, the Vortax had been trying to stop the civilization from using a powerful weapon, one that could destroy entire planets. The weapon, however, had been locked away in a secret location, and the Vortax had failed to stop it. The civilization had vanished, leaving behind only a few records and mysterious ruins. "This is it," Leah said, her voice trembling. The Vortax knew about this weapon. They tried to stop it, but they failed. And now it looks like we're the next ones to unlock it. Dr. Harris felt his stomach drop. This was worse than he had imagined. The power beneath the earth wasn't just some forgotten technology. It was a weapon so powerful that it could destroy the Vortax's entire species. The realization hit him hard. If the Vortax were coming to Earth, they weren't just trying to warn humanity. They were trying to stop them from discovering the truth. They knew that the ancient weapon had the power to change everything. And if humans unlocked it, they would become the most powerful species in the galaxy. "We need to find it first," Dr. Harris said firmly. "We need to find this weapon before the Vortax do. They're coming, and we have no idea how much time we have." The team quickly began preparing for an expedition to the location shown on the map. The area was remote and difficult to reach, but the team was determined to uncover the truth. Dr. Harris knew they couldn't afford to wait any longer. The Vortax were already on their way, and if they reached Earth first, they would destroy everything before humanity could even understand what they were dealing with. As the days passed, the urgency grew. The team gathered equipment, made plans, and prepared for what they might find deep beneath the earth. Dr. Harris couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the edge of something massive, something that could change the course of human history. But at the same time, a deep fear lingered in his mind. What if they were wrong? What if opening this door, uncovering this secret, was a mistake? There were no answers yet, only questions. But one thing was clear. They had to find the truth. The Vortax feared something on Earth, something buried beneath the surface. And now it was up to Dr. Harris and his team to uncover what that secret was, before it was too late. This part continues to build the mystery, uncovering more about the ancient city and the powerful weapon that the Vortax fear. The suspense grows as the team begins to prepare for the dangerous expedition ahead. Here is the third part of the story, the Vortax's secret fear, written in simple, basic English, in third-person style. The sun was setting over the research facility, casting long shadows across the desert. Dr. Harris stood outside, staring at the sky, deep in thought. The situation had changed. What had started as an exciting discovery was now something much darker. The Vortak, the ancient alien species, were coming, and they were terrified of something beneath the earth. The weapon they had tried to stop thousands of years ago was still here, hidden away, waiting to be discovered. But why had the Vortak failed to destroy it? Why hadn't they come for it before? The message they had received from space kept echoing in his mind. The Earth is the key. You must unlock it before the Vortak. What did that mean? How was Earth the key to this weapon? Inside, the team was busy preparing for the journey. Maps were spread across tables, and equipment was being checked and double-checked. The location they were heading to was deep underground, a place where no human had ever set foot. It was dangerous. But Dr. Harris knew they had no choice. The Vortak were coming, and if they arrived before them, Earth would be in grave danger. Leah walked up to Dr. Harris, her face filled with concern. "Are you sure about this? We don't know what we're going to find down there. We might not be ready for what's waiting for us." Dr. Harris turned to her, his expression grim. "We have no choice, Leah. The Vortak knows something we don't. Whatever's buried beneath the Earth, it's more powerful than anything we've ever seen. If we don't find it first, they will. And we'll never have a chance to stop them." Leah nodded, though the fear in her eyes was clear. The team had been working together for years, but this was different. They were no longer just studying the stars. They were fighting for survival. The next morning, the team set out for the location on the map. The journey took them through rough terrain, across deserts, and into the mountains. They traveled for hours, the tension building as they got closer to their destination. Dr. Harris couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Every step they took felt like they were getting closer to something dangerous, something that had been buried for a reason. When they finally arrived at the site, they found an entrance to an underground cavern, hidden beneath the rocks. It was a massive structure, the entrance barely visible unless you knew where to look. The air was thick with dust, and the ground felt cold beneath their feet. The silence was overwhelming. And for a moment, no one spoke. Dr. Harris was the first to step forward. "This is it, the entrance to the ancient city." The team followed him into the darkness, their flashlights cutting through the thick air. As they descended deeper into the earth, the walls of the cavern seemed to grow tighter, the pressure building around them. The further they went, the more they felt as if they were being watched. The feeling of unease was growing stronger with every step. After what felt like hours, they finally reached a large chamber. The walls were covered in strange markings, symbols that none of them could understand. In the center of the room was a massive stone structure, like a temple or a shrine. It was old, older than anything they had ever seen, yet it was still intact. The air around it felt different, charged, alive, as if the very stone was holding some kind of energy. Leah moved closer to the structure, her hand hovering over the carvings. "These symbols, they're not like anything we found before. It's like they're warning us." Dr. Harris stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. The structure was exactly like the one described in the ancient texts, only it was much bigger than they had imagined. There was no doubt now. This was the source of the power the Vortak had feared. "I think we found it," Dr. Harris said quietly. "This is the weapon, the thing the Vortak have been trying to stop." The team stood in awe, staring at the massive stone structure. The closer they got, the more they could feel the energy pulsing from it, as though it was alive. It was both beautiful and terrifying. Dr. Harris didn't know what to think. What had the elders, the civilization that built this place, intended with such a powerful artifact? What had made the Vortak so terrified of it? Leah spoke again, her voice barely a whisper. "What if the weapon isn't just for destruction? What if it's something else? Something we don't understand yet?" Dr. Harris didn't know how to respond. He had so many questions, but no answers. The deeper they went into the ancient city, The more it became clear that there was a lot they didn't understand. Whatever had happened to the elders, they had left behind something so powerful that even the Vortak were afraid to approach it. "We need to figure out how it works," Dr. Harris said. "We need to understand what it can do. The Vortak will be here soon. If they get to this before we do, it will be too late." The team began to explore the structure, looking for clues, trying to figure out how to activate it. They found more carvings, more strange symbols, but nothing that told them how the power worked. Hours passed, and the sense of urgency grew. The deeper they dug, the more it became clear. The Vortak weren't just trying to warn them. They were trying to prevent humanity from unlocking the weapon's true power. Suddenly, one of the team members, Dr. Mark Collins, shouted out from across the room, "I think I've found something." His voice echoed through the cavern. The others rushed over to him. He was standing in front of a large stone door, hidden behind a wall of debris. He carefully moved the rocks aside, revealing a set of strange markings on the door's surface. It was unlike anything they had seen before. The symbols seemed to glow faintly, as if they were alive. Leah moved closer, inspecting the door. "These markings, they're like a lock. This might be the key to unlocking the power." Dr. Harris nodded. "If this is the key, then we're one step closer to understanding what the Vortak were so afraid of." With trembling hands, Dr. Harris stepped forward and placed his hand on the markings. A sudden jolt of energy shot through his body, and the ground beneath them trembled. The door began to open slowly, revealing what lay beyond. Behind the door was a chamber unlike anything they had seen before. It was filled with strange, glowing objects and machines that hummed with energy. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, and on it rested an object, an ancient cube, glowing with a soft, eerie light. "This is it," Dr. Harris whispered, his voice filled with awe. "This is the weapon." But as he reached out to touch the cube, a voice echoed through the room. It wasn't from the Vortak, nor from any human. It was a voice from the past, a voice that had been waiting for thousands of years to be heard. "Beware, humans," the voice warned. "The power you seek is not meant for your kind. Unlock it, and the consequences will be beyond your understanding." The room grew colder, and the team froze in place. The voice had come from nowhere, yet it felt as if it was all around them. The warning was clear. Some powers were better left untouched. But Dr. Harris knew one thing for certain. The Vortak feared this power. And now they had to decide whether to unlock it and risk everything, or leave it buried forever. In this part, the team uncovers the ancient city and the powerful weapon, revealing its potential and the growing tension between humanity and the Vortak. The suspense continues to build as they approach the truth of what lies beneath the earth. Here is the fourth part of the story, The Awakening, written in simple, basic English in third-person style. The air inside the chamber was thick with tension. The team stood frozen in front of the glowing cube. Dr. Harris could feel his heart pounding in his chest as he stared at the object. It was beautiful, yet terrifying. The cube hummed with energy, its surface pulsating like it was alive. The warning from the voice still echoed in his mind. "Beware, humans. The power you seek is not meant for your kind. Unlock it, and the consequences will be beyond your understanding." Dr. Harris knew what they had to do. The Vortak were coming, and if they reached this chamber first, they would destroy everything. But the cube, it was dangerous. What if the voice was right? What if unlocking it meant the end of humanity? "Samuel," Leah whispered, her voice trembling. "What if we're making a mistake? What if we can't control this power?" Dr. Harris turned to her, his face pale. He didn't have the answers, but he knew they didn't have much time. The Vortak were on their way. If they didn't act now, everything they had worked for would be lost. "We don't have a choice, Leah," he said, his voice steady but filled with uncertainty. "The Vortak fear this power. They've been trying to stop it for thousands of years. If we don't unlock it first, they will. And they'll use it against us. Leah nodded slowly, but the fear in her eyes was still there. The team had been studying ancient technologies for years, but nothing like this. This wasn't just a machine or a weapon. It was something far beyond their understanding. The air in the room grew colder, and the hum of the cube grew louder. It was almost as if the cube was calling to them, urging them to unlock it. Dr. Harris knew the risks, but he couldn't turn back now. He stepped forward, his hand shaking as he reached for the cube. As his fingers touched the surface, a surge of energy shot through his body, and the room trembled. The floor beneath them cracked, and a low rumble filled the air. The cube's glow intensified, blinding them for a moment. Then suddenly, everything went still. The silence was deafening. Dr. Harris stumbled back, his heart racing. He looked around the room, expecting something to happen, but nothing did. The cube was still there, its glow slowly fading. Leah stepped forward, her voice barely a whisper. "What did you do, Samuel? What happened?" Dr. Harris didn't know. He didn't understand. The power had felt so overwhelming, like nothing he had ever felt before. And yet it wasn't like he had activated anything. It was as if the cube had reacted to his touch, almost like it was alive. But then, the floor cracked open once more, and a deep rumbling voice echoed through the chamber. It was the same voice they had heard before, only this time, it was stronger, more powerful. "You have awakened the power," the voice boomed. "Now you must face the consequences." Dr. Harris's heart sank. He had been warned, but now it was too late. Suddenly, the ground beneath them began to shake. The walls of the chamber trembled, and the ceiling cracked, sending debris falling around them. The team scrambled to stay on their feet, panic rising as the chamber seemed to come alive. Strange lights flashed around them, and the cube began to spin faster, its glow growing brighter. Leah cried out, "What's happening? What's going on?" Before Dr. Harris could answer, a massive force of energy shot out from the cube, knocking them all off their feet. The room spun, and for a moment, everything went black. When Dr. Harris regained consciousness, he found himself lying on the cold stone floor. His head throbbed, and his vision blurred. He tried to push himself up, but his body felt heavy, as though the very air around him had changed. He struggled to focus, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The team was scattered around the room, but they were all alive. Slowly, they began to stir, groaning and rubbing their heads. Dr. Harris's gaze shifted to the cube. It was still there, but it no longer glowed. It was dark, silent, almost as if it had drained all the energy from the room. Leah was the first to speak. "What did we just do?" Dr. Harris didn't have an answer. He stood up, shaking his head. "I don't know, but I think we've triggered something. Something that was meant to stay buried." The air around them felt different now. It wasn't just the energy from the cube, it was something else. Something darker. The voice they had heard before seemed to linger in the air, as if it was watching them. Then, without warning, the ground shook again, but this time it was stronger. The walls cracked, and a low growl filled the air. It wasn't the rumble of the earth. It was something else. Something alive. "Something's coming," Dr. Harris whispered, his voice filled with dread. Leah's eyes widened. "The vortex." Dr. Harris didn't respond. He was too focused on the strange noise coming from deep within the earth. It was like a distant roar, a sound that echoed through the cavernous tunnels, growing louder with each passing second. It was the sound of something awakening, something that had been asleep for thousands of years. Suddenly, the chamber began to collapse. The ceiling cracked open, and massive rocks fell from above, blocking their path. The ground beneath them trembled, and a deep guttural voice filled the room, echoing with fury. "You have awakened it." The voice wasn't from the cube this time. It was coming from somewhere else, somewhere deeper, somewhere darker. Dr. Harris's heart raced. He knew then that they hadn't just activated the power of the cube. They had awakened something far more dangerous, something that had been waiting in the darkness, biding its time. and now it was free. In this part, the team activates the cube, triggering an event far more dangerous than they had anticipated. The tension and danger grow as the power beneath the Earth begins to awaken, setting the stage for the final confrontation with the Vortac and whatever else lies hidden beneath the surface. Here is the fifth and final part of the story, the final decision, written in simple, basic English, in third-person style. The ground shook violently as Dr. Harris struggled to maintain his balance. The roar from deep within the earth grew louder, shaking the very foundation of the cavern. Dust and debris filled the air, and rocks fell from the ceiling, crashing to the ground with terrifying force. The chamber was falling apart around them. "Everyone, move," Dr. Harris shouted, his voice barely audible over the rumble. "We need to get out of here now." The team scrambled to their feet, their faces filled with panic. The floor beneath them cracked open, and the walls seemed to shift, as if they were closing in. There was no time to waste. They had triggered something far more dangerous than they had realized. The power they had unleashed wasn't just a weapon. It was something much worse, something that had been dormant for millennia. "Where do we go?" Leah cried out, her eyes wide with fear. "There's no way out." Dr. Harris turned to the others. He could see the terror in their eyes, but there was no time for fear. "We have to find a way to stop it. If we don't, everything we've worked for will be lost." The roar grew louder still, and the ground trembled with each passing second. It was coming. Something ancient, something that had been trapped beneath the earth for so long. They had woken it up, and now it was angry. "We can't stop it," Dr. Leah Mitchell shouted. "We don't know what we're dealing with." "I know," Dr. Harris said, his voice filled with urgency. "But we have to try. We can't let it destroy everything." The team ran through the collapsing chamber, dodging falling rocks and debris. The entire cavern seemed to be collapsing in on itself, the walls cracking, the floor splitting open. They were running out of time. The roar was deafening now, shaking the air around them. It was close, too close. As they neared the entrance of the chamber, a massive force slammed into the ground, knocking them all off their feet. The air grew cold, and the roar became a terrifying screech. Dr. Harris looked up, his heart stopping in his chest. Standing at the edge of the chamber, just beyond the entrance, was a massive creature. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. Its body was covered in thick, dark scales, and its eyes glowed with an eerie light. It was enormous, its shape twisted and monstrous, with wings that stretched out like blackened, jagged stone. The creature's roar was the source of the terrifying sound, and it sent shivers down their spines. That's what we awakened." Leah gasped, her voice trembling with disbelief. Dr. Harris's mind raced. He had suspected the power beneath the earth was something far more dangerous than a weapon, but this was beyond anything he could have imagined. This was not just a threat to humanity. It was a force of nature, a creature that had been buried for centuries, waiting to be freed. The creature took a step forward, its massive claws digging into the ground as it advanced toward them. The team stumbled back in fear, but there was no way out. The cavern had collapsed behind them, and the creature was blocking their only escape. "We have to stop it," Dr. Harris shouted, his voice shaking with desperation. "We have to do something." Leah looked at him, her eyes wide with terror. "How? We don't have the power to fight that thing." But Dr. Harris wasn't listening. He had a plan. He turned toward the cube, the glowing, now dormant object in the center of the chamber. He had no idea if it would work, but it was their only hope. "It's the Q," he said, his voice filled with resolve. "We triggered it. We awakened it. Maybe we can use it to stop this thing." Leah hesitated. "How? How do you know that?" "I don't," Dr. Harris admitted, "but it's our only chance." He grabbed the cube and held it tightly in his hands, feeling the familiar energy surge through him once again. The creature growled, its eyes locked on the team, But Dr. Harris didn't flinch. He stepped forward, raising the cube high above his head. The air around them grew colder, and the energy from the cube began to swirl. The ground beneath them shook even harder now, and the creature let out a deafening roar. But Dr. Harris held firm, focusing all his thoughts on the cube and the energy it contained. He didn't understand how it worked, but he knew it was their last hope. "Please," he whispered to himself. "Please work." A sudden flash of light erupted from the cube, blinding them all. The roar of the creature grew louder, but the cube's energy intensified, creating a barrier of light that surrounded the team. The creature screeched in fury, its claws scraping against the ground as it tried to break through the barrier. But it was no use. The light from the cube grew brighter, and the air around them hummed with power. Slowly, the creature began to shrink back, its body twisting in pain. The barrier of light pulsed with energy, and the creature's movements grew more erratic, like it was being pulled away by some unseen force. Dr. Harris's heart raced as the cube continued to glow, its energy pouring out in waves. The creature's screeches became less intense, and its movements slowed. Finally, with one last terrible roar, the creature collapsed to the ground, its massive body falling silent. The team stood in stunned silence as the energy from the cube faded, leaving the chamber still and quiet. The creature was gone. The power beneath the earth had been stopped, but the price of awakening it had been high. Dr. Harris sank to his knees, exhausted and shaken. The team gathered around him, their faces filled with a mixture of relief and disbelief. They had done it. They had stopped the creature. But at what cost? We did it," Leah whispered, still in shock. Dr. Harris looked at the cube in his hands, the object that had brought them both their victory and their terror. "We did," he said quietly. "But I don't think we can ever fully understand what we've just unleashed." The chamber around them was silent now, the roar of the creature nothing more than a memory. The team had survived, but the world had changed. They had awakened something powerful, something that no one fully understood. As they made their way back to the surface, Dr. Harris couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The Vortac had warned them. The power beneath the earth had been buried for a reason, and now that it had been unleashed, no one knew what the consequences would be. But one thing was certain: the world would never be the same again. This final part brings the story to its intense conclusion, as the team faces the consequences of unlocking the ancient power beneath the earth. They are able to stop the creature, but the story ends on a note of uncertainty, hinting at the larger dangers that may still lie ahead.